Hello everyone, my name is Blue Knight 23, and in this video I will be discussing the differences and similarities between Korra and Kuvira, from their character arcs to their character journeys throughout the Legend of Korra TV series. Also, the comic book series called Ruins of the Empire. This comic trilogy shows even more depth to Kuvira's character and exploring her backstory and redemption arc within these books. But I mainly want to focus on her childhood and connections with Korra within her older life. Also, the ways Korra continues to grow and develop over the course of the TV series, but mainly I'm going to focus on her character development and growth in book 4 of the TV series. In part 1, I will be discussing both of their differences and similarities between these two characters and seeing how they're not so different. They're actually pretty similar in a lot of ways, from how you can see many of their character traits, some of their life experiences, and how they can relate to each other on more ways than one on a personal level. And then in part 2, I'm going to be discussing Kuvira's backstory and redemption arc. And at the section, I'm mainly going to focus on her arc and her backstory, seeing how she became the way she is, and then how she changed and developed and became a better person, but at the end of her trilogy. And then in part 3 will be the conclusion of my video, and I will be discussing the meaning of both the Avatar title and the Great Uniter, and seeing how the two of those titles are actually similar and are really closer than a lot of people realize. Okay, now I'm going to be going to my part 1, the similarities and differences between Korra and Kuvira.
What happened? Are we dead?
No, we're okay. But we're in the spirit world. All the energy from your weapon tore open a new portal and blasted us in here.
Why would you save my life? After everything I did to you?
I guess I see a lot of myself in you.
We are nothing alike.
Yes, we are. We're both fierce and determined to succeed, sometimes without thinking things through.
This wasn't how I wanted things to end. If you had all just surrendered, none of this would have happened.
You brought this on yourself. Messing with the spirit vines, acting like a dictator over your people. You had to know what you were doing wasn't right.
I was trying to help my people. Sue turned her back on the Earth Kingdom. You were gone. I had to do something.
I think I get it now.
You don't understand anything about me.
I do. Sue told me how she took you in when you were younger. It must have been so hard being an orphan.
Don't pretend you know what it felt like. The Avatar is adored by millions. I was cast aside by my own parents like I meant nothing to them. How could I just stand by and watch the same thing happen to my nation when it needed someone to guide it?
You wanted to create a place where you and your people would never be vulnerable again. I may not have been an orphan, but believe me, I understand what it feels like to be afraid. After I was poisoned, I would have done anything to feel in control.
Stand down. This battle is over. I owe the Avatar my life. Her power is beyond anything I could ever hope to achieve. I'll accept whatever punishment the world sees fit.
Okay everyone, so now I'm going to discuss the differences between Korra and Kuvira. So in book 4, Kuvira was such an insightful and complex villain throughout this season, from showing how a person who only wanted to rebuild her nation and bring order to her nation can become corrupted with such power and such extreme beliefs in their own nation or country, even though they love their nation and their country, but they're making such evil choices and doing such terrible things to those who resist them. These events turned her into a controlling, power-hungry dictator who really started gaining power and influence over the past 3 years, as well as save her people from anarchy and disorder. Kuvira put all her focus and attention into becoming a great uniter and rebuilding the Earth Kingdom, while dealing with the Earth Kingdom's waiters and other political leaders who disagreed with her methods she used, since they were brutal at worst and questionable at best, and her also forcing people to join her side, regardless if they wanted to or not. And this was a very interesting way to look at Kuvira, because when she first appeared in book 3, she was the captain of Su Lin's security team, who only wanted to help her nation and save it from chaos and disorder, since Su Lin decided that she wasn't going to take all that political power for herself and step up and be the ruler of the Earth Nation. So Kuvira decided that instead of staying as Su's security captain, she was actually going to take up and make the choices no one else was going to make or do. So this really showed a lot of Kuvira's character in that moment, because it showed how she had such a strong sense of justice and order, and she was willing to make the choices that no one else could do and take the actions that everyone else was too afraid to do. It was a really interesting look into the differences between both of them. Korra, one of the main things that separates it is that Korra is the Avatar. She is someone who is seen as a peacemaker and someone that must bring balance and protect the world from great evil. Korra is also a person who at the beginning of the story was headstrong, short-tempered, and reckless, but over the course of her journey of self-discovery and understanding who she really was as a person, she became more compassionate, more empathetic, and more diplomatic. She learned from her past mistakes and not to always rush into things. Slow down at times and think about what you have to do before you do it. Since she always kept running into things at the beginning of the story that always kept making her get into more trouble than it did help her. Even though she is the Avatar, there were so many people that were saying that they didn't need her anymore, that the Avatar was old-fashioned, or they would compare her to other avatars of the past, and basically saying she was not worthy and she was not enough. And that really caused such pain for Korra, because it's like everyone's telling you they don't need you and that you're worthless. And this is something you wanted to be and wanted to do since you were a kid. Her whole life and identity is based around being the Avatar. That was her whole goal and dream and aspiration of becoming that. So how can you do that when everyone else is hating on you and telling you you're not worthy or you are not enough? So that was a really interesting point that I looked at when I was doing my research, of seeing how the differences between both of them, there's quite a few, but there's also a good amount of similarities that both of them can relate to each other on. Since Korra and Kuvira, they are reflections of one another, since there are many moments in Book 4 that shows how both of these women are willing to go through so much pain and suffering to fulfill their goals and protect the people they care about. Even if they're beaten down and shattered, they will keep moving forward and keep fighting the good fight. The ways that both of them have had rough childhoods. Korra, she basically, since she found out she was the Avatar when she was 4 years old, and the White Lotus, they decided that they had to keep her in the Southern Water Tribe to keep her safe from Sahir and the Red Lotus when they tried to kidnap her when she was a kid, to brainwash her and turn her into a dark Avatar. And besides that, Korra, she also felt isolated and alone. Yes, like she had her parents with her, and she had her pet polar bear dog named Naga, but other than Naga, she didn't really have any other friends. The only other people around her was her parents and her teachers who were teaching her the 4 elements. Yes, she did have Katara, but she also taught her how she was her water-bending master, and she taught her how to heal people using water bending. But even so, she still didn't have anyone to relate to, and that really shaped her development growing up, because by the time she turned 17, she didn't really have much interaction, you could say. Like, she was more sheltered, that she didn't really know about the dangers of the world. Well, she knew to an extent, but not like how to deal with people and how to deal with different types of people. So that also like made it tough for her to connect with people when she stole away and snuck to a public city to be trained by Tenzin. While Tenzin, he was teaching her airbending and teaching her how to become a full avatar, basically. So Korra, that really shaped her growing up, and that's what the type of stuff she had to deal with over the course of the story. While Kuvira, she was a child who her parents like treated harshly, and they even told her they didn't love her. Like, yes, they cared to an extent, but like they basically just wanted to get rid of her the first chance they got. Like, Kuvira, she had a lot of problems with her anger and controlling her anger. Like, sometimes she would lash out and nearly destroy the house and nearly like cause damage to people, or nearly killing her own mother at one point because she got so heated and she couldn't control her rage. That caused a really bad like accident that nearly killed her mom. So her father, he decided to sell her or give her away basically to Sue Lin, and Sue basically had to take care of her and become a second mother figure to her. But even then, Kuvira felt that Sue, she never fully loved her all the way. Yes, she did care about her, but she always treated her differently compared to her other kids. Like Opal, for example, she treated Opal, since Opal was her youngest daughter, and she actually felt a lot more love for her than she did Kuvira. Even though Sue did love Kuvira, but like Kuvira, she felt that she didn't love her as much as she did her other children. So that really kind of left a hole in her. It made her feel that no one ever really loved her or cared about her. So that really made her feel like that nobody wanted her. Opal even said that she only saw Kuvira as a stray dog that nobody wanted. That really just shaped Kuvira, like from hearing that really made her think that no one ever truly loved or cared about her. So that really was an interesting thing to look at both of their childhoods and see how similar the two of them actually are. Yes, like Korra, she may not have been an orphan, but she knows what it's like to be afraid of like someone or something. And both of them can relate to each other on that. So overall, Korra and Kuvira have way more in common than a lot of people would first believe they do. So they can learn so much for each other. Along with the main lesson Korra learned from Kuvira was that even if you have good intentions, it could still lead either being shaped by your dark or evil actions and making you turn into something you're not, and make you turn into the villain instead of the hero of the story. So after all that, Kuvira, she actually decided that she wanted to do better, that she wanted to learn from her past mistakes and actually face the consequences of all her horrid actions she committed. And this really said a lot about Kuvira, because at the beginning of book 4, like, Kuvira, her old self, would have never done that. But after everything she went through in this book, and also her past, that she came to that realization that her and Korra have a lot more in common than she ever thought they did. So the two of them actually can form a really strong bond with each other, since they're so alike. Like, they're so alike, and there are so many things they can relate to each other on. So yeah, I felt that was really good. I really just love Korra and Kuvira so much, and I love both of these characters. And now I'm going to be discussing about, in part 2, I will be discussing Kuvira's redemption arc and a bit of her backstory. Only just a small bit, because I mainly covered it in this section, but I'm just going to talk about mainly focusing on her redemption arc in part 2. Okay, now we are continuing to part 2, Kuvira's redemption arc. Okay, everyone, as I was saying, in part 2 of the video here, I'm going to be discussing about Kuvira's redemption arc and also her development throughout the Ruins of the Empire comic series. But I'm going to keep it brief. I'm going to briefly touch on each of the main highlights of it. I'm not going to dive deep into it because that'll be for. There's a few other videos I could go to. I'll link in the description below that will check where you can check out each of the Ruins of the Empire comics, like Comic 1, Comic 2, and Comic 3. So you can check those out after this video. So the main thing I'm going to highlight is Kuvira's backstory. So basically, in Ruins of the Empire, it basically talked about how she always had to deal with such terrible parents, how she went from being an orphan where she did have two parents that loved her, but they really treated her harshly and they were really strict and tough on her, because not only did she have to deal with like such tough parents, but also how punishments would be really severe, because yes, she did have a lot of anger problems and she had a hard time controlling herself, because she always wanted to have a sense of freedom and actually having more control of her life instead of just having her parents always dictate everything she does. But excuse me, but even so, her parents still treated her badly, not only because it was difficult for them to control her, but also because she didn't always do what they wanted her to do. Especially since, like, if she would lash out and use her earthbending abilities, she nearly ended up destroying things or like almost getting her parents killed. Like at one time when she got so mad, she almost killed her mother. So after that, her father decided to sell her to Sulin. Well, sell her, basically have Sulin adopt her, basically, since they didn't want to deal with her. So basically after that, she took her in and she raised her as one of her own kids. But even as she did so, she still treated Kuvira differently compared to her actual children. Like, yes, she did help control and get rid of some of Kuvira's darker tendencies and helping her control her anger better, but she would still treat her harshly and be pretty rough with her at times. Especially since how her relationship with Opal wasn't always the best. Like, Opal, she's Sulin's younger daughter, and she would basically treat Opal really bad, and Opal would treat Kuvira really bad. Like, the two of them did not like each other. Especially when Opal actually said that Kuvira was nothing more than a stray dog that nobody wanted, and that really hurt Kuvira to her core. Like, all she ever wanted was just to have a family that truly loved her and cared about her well-being. But everywhere she looked, the people always leave her or abandon her, or they said she wasn't good enough because they didn't want to deal with her. And that really messed with her development and messed her up as a child. Because that's another reason why she became so cold and calculated, and why she decided, yes, like, she decided she always wanted to do what was best for her people and to help her people. But she would also see what you might have to do, or what some people believe they have to do to, like, do what's right, even if that turns them into a monster or make them do such terrible actions. Another thing was, even after Kuvira aged and as she grew up, she joined Sulin's security team, and she later became the captain of that security team, along with being one of the performers of a metal bending dance routine they would do. And in that scene, that also showed how beautiful and elegant Kuvira really was, not only with her metal bending, but also how skillful she became as the years went on. So it really showed a lot about how Kuvira was able to grow and develop, and also how she became such a really important figure in Zaofu. And then she later became infatuated with Batal Jr., Sulin's oldest son, and also Kuvira's future lover, since the two of them were engaged to be married after she rebuilt the Earth Kingdom in Book 4. But basically, going back to Kuvira, yes, those events really changed her and made her into a different person. Some fans would say it turned her into a monster. How her early life really affected her, And then also it helps humanize her a bit more, because then you can see why she became the way she was and why she had to do, or she felt she had to do such terrible actions just to become like not only the Great Uniter, but also someone who's willing to do whatever it takes to bring her nation back from such destruction and disarray. Even though how much she loves her people and loves her nation, she just decided to do so many terrible things to do it, or to rebuild it basically, and make it better for all Kingdom citizens and the nation as a whole. So pretty much in this section, I just wanted to discuss Kuvira's backstory. I pretty much just did a brief summary of it, because I wasn't going to talk about every single detail in it, because I want that to be for later on. And then also in the description, I will be posting links to Ruins of the Empire, and I will be discussing those moments there. So please, everyone, thank you. And going to part 3, and I'm going to talk about the Avatar and the Great Uniter. Okay, thank you. In conclusion, Korra is the Avatar, someone who must bring balance to the world and keep its nations and people safe, while Kuvira was the Great Uniter, someone who gave up everything to save her people and the nation she loved from such destruction and despair, while Korra had to deal with everyone saying that she was not needed and that she was broken by such powerful foes. Even though she was broken and shattered, she still had the resilience, the determination, and the strength to keep fighting, that she chose to get back up and she chose to keep going, even if she knew she was still, this may not be the last time that she gets hurt or gets injured or everyone loses hope in her, but she would still keep moving forward, and she would continue to fight and be the peacemaker and continue to restore balance throughout the world, since she also was able to show more understanding and relate to her enemies, even that of Kuvira, while Kuvira was not able to see the amount of suffering and pain that she caused until it was too late, because she was just so focused on trying to save her people and her nation. She didn't stop to see what she was actually doing was evil and twisted and wrong, along with her not being able to see past the darker aspects of herself, always wanting to maintain control and order. Even though her nation was going through such hard times, she still took extreme measures to rebuild it and remake it and to unite it. But that shouldn't have made her lose sight of what she was supposed to do, and not become a dictator and start using such insane power to control those around you. Why this really showed that both Korra and Kuvira, that even though they received the title of Korra for the Avatar and Kuvira for the Great Uniter, they didn't let these titles define who they really are as people, but they let their own personalities and characteristics define their own worth and value to not only themselves but those around them. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to compare and contrast Korra and Kuvira, because how similar but yet different both of these characters are from each other. By Korra, she's the symbol of peace and balance. Kuvira is the symbol of what happens if you have unchecked power and you have such extreme beliefs, or having such love for your nation that you care so much about it and its people you're willing to do anything for it. And that could also cause really bad damage and pain, not only to yourself but those around you, because you're willing to do whatever it takes to bring your nation back from such hard times it could be facing. But overall, I really love Korra and Kuvira. Both of these women are very strong characters, and they have very well written character arcs and journeys throughout not only book 4 but throughout the entire series. Kuvira, she gets more of her character arc in the comic series of Ruins of the Empire. It has 3 parts, and throughout her comic series, it shows her redemption arc and how she grows as a character. But in book 4, you can still see her development by the end of book 4, that you can see her not only realize the mistakes she made, but also she wants to do better. Throughout book 4, like not only after being poisoned and being wheelchair bound for about 3 years, but then she also had to go on a journey of self-discovery and then being able to understand her villains and also other people, like seeing how you can relate to them and how you can put yourself in their shoes, and that how they can understand, so you can understand what they're going through. And then just like Korra told Kuvira, even though she wasn't an orphan, or she wasn't born an orphan, but she always knew what it was like to be afraid. So overall, again, in this video, I just really love both of these characters. So if you like my video, please comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And if you like other videos like this, I have a playlist where I talk about other character arcs and their journeys, or character analysis. So everyone, please tune in if you haven't already. Thank you for watching this video. So thank you all. Have a good day. Blue Knight 23 out.